Get your pads out, get your pencils sharpened, because the crown jewel of the PGA Tour is upon us. The Players' Championship. We're going to break it all down, unpack it, give you who's going to win, a guaranteed top 10, a lock, I promise you, for who is going to lead after the first round. It's all coming your way. Break it even. You know the drill by now, Ned Michaels and the coach, Jonathan Coachman. We are both actually working this event this week. We're fired up for it. We're at the Players' Championship, TPC Sawgrass. And, Coach, I know you got your notes ready, as do I. I've got notes all over the place. We've got picks galore. Going to break down everything from the weather to who's going to miss the cut. There are going to be some surprising names in the next 30 minutes as we go through this field and this golf course. You ready for the week?
Yeah, I'm fired up. I mean, this is the biggest event of the year on the PGA Tour. It's got the biggest purse. We're talking about $3.6 million to the winner. All the big boys, it seems like right now, with the exception of Jon Rahm, are in form. So I think that's going to make for a spectacular week. I'm ready to get started.
Yeah, it's the one thing that could pump the brakes a little bit on us this week is the weather. It's supposed to be 80% chance of rain Thursday, and then again on Friday. And, of course, down here, when you get rain, it also typically comes this time of year with thunder and weather delays.
No doubt.
And then it's supposed to get windy on Saturday and Sunday. So what do you think that does for the players? How does it make the field more in play, or does it shrink it?
No, I think it's certainly going to widen the gap between first and last is going to be very, very wide, but I don't think the score is going to be very, very low. I think they're going to be high because when you have a lot of rain and then the wind comes, what happens? It's going to firm up the golf course, and it's going to change it from day to day to day to day. And, Ned, you can speak to this. You've played on the PGA Tour way more than I can, but I've watched a lot of golf, and when the course changes so much from day to day, it's very, very hard to get into a mindset where you know exactly what's going to happen. We just saw it last week. When the ball kept running out of the fairway, you heard Rory McIlroy say, you're not even getting rewarded for good shots. We may see that this week. But here's the thing. Everybody's going to play the same conditions. That's some of the beauty of golf. And we're about 15 to 20 minutes from TPC right now, and it was a deluge today. So I'm prepared to stay until Monday. I'm prepared to stay through Monday to crown a champion, and other players are too.
So it's interesting because when you get this kind of weather, and you said everybody plays the same golf course, maybe not, because if you go out early, there is a chance that you're going to get through majority of your round before the weather comes in. And you could also go out early and get smoked by the weather because it's just such a random occurrence here. When it comes through hard and fast. And so if you get lucky and you catch, like if you were, we had a delay and you went out really late and you played 9 holes, no rain, just it was wet. And then you came out early the next morning to finish your round and you played 9 holes in no rain, fresh greens. That is a possibility that could happen. And if that does happen, you're going to see those guys bubble to the top of the leaderboard. Take a look at the weather. The other thing is when you get a wet golf course, fairways play wider, greens play bigger. And so it really opens up the entire, in my opinion, it opens up the entire field to having a chance here because balls that maybe are toe hooked that should run into the water, they won't. And so you don't have to be quite on your ball striking game in that sense. Now you do have to be able to hit it closer to the hole because as you were just mentioning, the ball isn't pinging around the golf course. So I think this is going to be one of the hardest events to pick so far this season and maybe for the whole year, given that it's going to be wet and then windy. So it's a contradiction in how do you play this golf course. You cannot play it low, but you can't really play it high because it's windy.
But we always talk about odds, right? Everything that we talk about, Ned, comes from an odds perspective. For some reason, and I can't figure out the reason, but the odds on really good players are a lot higher. So to your point, if what happens is what you think will happen, this could be one of those weeks that we talk about next week and say, man, that dude was 120 to 1. Oh, that dude was 130 to 1 because we've seen winners with those odds this year. You normally don't see it at the Players' Championship, though. But if we get those conditions, then you could because you're getting numbers like on Colin Morikawa plus 2,800. You never see him over 20-1 or over plus 2,000. But you're seeing that this week because I think they like to spread out who people pick to win. And if you have a bunch of guys at plus 1,500 or below, nobody's going to bet on those guys. So it's a smart move by the books to widen the odds out.
Interesting. So I was looking at the odds thinking, oh, this is great. I get more at Kawa. And now it makes a little bit more sense. Hey, by the way, if you weren't able to join us on Breaking Even with Guy and Danny, we'll replay some of it throughout the week. But it was a tough 45 minutes, like heavy lifting in the financial markets. So I got a little nervous. I got a little spooked, and I sold this big blue chip fund that I had that was predominantly Amazon. Amazon split this afternoon 20-for-1.
I knew I could tell from the look on your face something had happened, and I just didn't know what it was. I thought just spending 45 minutes with Danny Moses would have done that to your face. But clearly it was something else. Fortunately,
the guy Adami crushed this OIH call, and we made some cash on that. So make sure you check out Breaking Even, the podcast. We go live every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern. All right, Coach, let's get into this, man. Where do we want to start? How do you want to open the keg here?
Well, I kind of want to start with the storyline because I think that a lot of people, because when you talk about Thursday and Friday as far as bets are concerned, they're going to have different matchups. And I like talking about players first so they can use their information to adjust to the matchups that they have at their respective sports books. And right now in 2022, I call it big game hunting. And what I mean by that is all the big names week in and week out. And I think there's a lot of reasons for it. FedEx Cup, more money. The purses are going up at almost every single event, it feels like. But I think the players now are starting to take pride in competing against each other and beating each other. Scotty Scheffler doesn't win for a couple of years. All of a sudden, he wins twice in less than a month. So is this going to be another big game hunting week? Or is it going to be somebody with those long odds that we talked about? I think it's going to be very, very interesting. I think people can make some fun bets this week that we'll give them. But I think that the bread and butter still needs to be those head-to-head matchups.
And interesting, this golf course, there's never been a back-to-back winner here at the TPC Sawgrass. And you look at some of the winners. Yeah, you got long hitters. You got Rory and Justin Thomas. But Tim Clark has won here. Fred Funk has won here, right? So Matt Kuchar has won on this golf course. So it becomes a very difficult element to pick. By the way, my college self would be kicking my butt right now because I think I just said a few minutes ago, I'm going to open the keg. I mean, how old am I? You tap the keg.
How embarrassing is that?
So feel free to get it.
Tap the keg, son.
Feel free to get in the comments over here and light us up with any questions. If you have a player on your mind or on your board who you're curious about, jump in there. We'll talk about it.
Sure.
All right. So here we go. How do we want to start? Where do we want to tap this keg?
All right. So I don't want to do my winners until the end. So I want to start with sleepers. Can we start with my sleeper?
Sure. Let's do that.
All right. So I want to start with my sleeper. And because of the way the odds are laid out, you may look at me and Ned and say, those are sleepers? Well, to me, if you're north of plus 4,000, which is 40-1, to me, that's a sleeper odds. So I'm going to go with Will Zalatoris. And if this dude can figure out how to make a putt inside of 10 feet, he's going to win all the time on the PGA Tour. It's just right now he cannot do that. I was there in person to watch him give away the Farmers Insurance. He had a putt to win on 18, couldn't get it done. I watched him last week missing 3-footer after 3-footer after 3-footer, but he hits it so incredibly well. And then on this golf course, if you do not strike the ball well, you've got no shot.
You're gone.
He hits it about as well as anybody. I'll take him at plus 4,000, just a little sprinkle.
And, you don't have to putt great. It obviously helps. But there are plenty of examples where players outside the top 25 strokes gained putting for the week have won this tournament. So there are a couple of things in my analysis of past winners. And again, let's clarify that this golf course has only hosted the event in March a couple of times. Right? It's 2019. Of course, 20, it was canceled. And again, last year. So in my opinion, you can forget everything that happened in May because that's a completely different golf course. So leave all of your analytics home. You really have to study in depth. What are the guys doing who have won here when this tournament has been held in March? And two things that I came down on. One, you got to play the par fives well. You're going to make bogeys on this golf course. You just have to accept that. So in order to offset those bogeys? Well, you've got to make birdies on the par fives. And then where can you lose a lot of strokes in one golf swing on this golf course?
17, baby.
The par threes, you got it. 17, for example. So when I started looking at, okay, who's playing the par threes well and who's playing the par fives well? Hoagie leads par three performance and scoring on the year. He's top 10 in birdie percentage on the par threes. All right. So that's a pretty good stat. But then you start looking at the par fives. He's top 10 in par five performance. So when you start looking, you start putting those pieces together. Now, I know it's a lot heavily weighted out in California when he won and when he's playing well. But again, he leads the PGA Tour in approaches from 175 to 200 yards. Think about how many of those you're going to have on this golf course. I love Tom Hoge.
You got a lot.
Taylor Gooch is not a long shot, but check this out. Second in par three performance, third in scoring, top 20 in birdies percentage, first in par five performance, top 20 in scoring on the par fives, and first in eagles. And Kokrak, surprisingly, the other thing is when you start looking at par three performance, coach, and scoring, that tells me how well you're striking your irons. So to your point of, hey, I have to hit it well on this golf course. If you're playing the par threes well, that means you're probably striking your irons well. So the two go hand in hand. I like these three guys because they're playing the par threes well and they're dominating the five pars.
I cannot believe that in 2022, I'm staring at two dudes that have already won on the PGA Tour. And those are the odds that I can get this week. If you're not putting at least $20 on Tom Hoge to win this golf tournament, then you should never bet on a winning ticket ever again. You'll never see him at plus 15,000 other than Players Week because he's a much better player than that. So that's a great call.
So my sleepers there, Gooch is just, I love the way Gooch plays this game. He's so definitive when he makes a decision, coach. He just steps up and he hits it. He knows how to play in the wind. I think he's a really solid pick. And then Kokrak is a new putter from last year, and he's making a lot more putts, a ton of confidence. He's a big game hunter. And you mentioned it. He's a guy who could very easily win this thing. He has the confidence to do it.
Yeah, and he's managed to, in the last couple of years, kind of raise his game. I wonder, how much are we going to see of Jason Kokrak moving forward at this level? I don't know. Because the last couple of months he hasn't been great, but the last couple of years he has shown up, and we've seen, that old saying, you make 80% of your money in 20% of your golf tournaments. Jason Kokrak lives that life. So this could be a week where he ends up waking up. Who knows?
You never know. That's exactly right. But they're the sleepers, and Zalatoris is such a good pick. I mean, it's hard to get away from when you start looking at any of the stats, except for putting.
Horrible. Absolutely horrible. So we'll see. Where are we going to go next? I think we should go to our top 10 because I heard you say in your little cold open, you're like, I'm going to give you a top 10 lock.
Yep, I may have just given them all to you, but I'll give you another one.
Give me a lock. I'll take it.
All right, this is a lock. This is a go-ahead, and you should pay me now. You should actually be able to buy out of this before we've even made the bet. Rory McIlroy is going to finish in the top 10. Rory McIlroy is a lock to finish inside the top 10. He's the 2019 champ. He missed the cut last year, so you'd say maybe he does have 4 top 10s here. He missed the cut in 2018 before he won in 2019. So just forget about any of that kind of stuff. And you start looking at any of the statistics that you need. He's there in all of the categories that are important. And I'll tell you the one thing that really stands out to me. He plays soft golf courses well. And you saw this quotes from last week. He lamented, and it was great. He showed up this week and he said, I was frustrated. I was complaining after my round on Sunday at the Arnold Palmer Invitational. He does not like firm, fast golf courses. And that's what we learned if we didn't already know it last week. So we're going to get a soft golf course. He can handle the wind. Look at his majors. They're soft golf courses. He's won an Open championship. He can handle the wind. He's a lock for a top 10.
The reason he doesn't like fast golf courses is because he hits the ball so damn high that if it's also running, now you're talking about hitting drives to places that he's not used to playing from. And that can be an issue. But if it's going to be wet, if it's going to be lift, clean, and place perhaps on a day or more, boy, that gives him a great advantage. I don't hate this pick at all because this is one of the places along with API, along with a couple other places that when he shows up, he's able to feel comfortable. So you give me top 10 for him. I like that. I like that a lot. I'm going to go with Daniel Berger because whenever you talk about the top players and you put in all the metrics or any of the stats, the one player we never talk about, Ned, is this guy as it compares to the other big names on tour. He belongs up there, and he plays great in Florida. And I like him at plus 300, top 10, lock it in.
And he's got to come in with a big chip on his shoulder after having a historic lead at the Honda Classic, the biggest lead ever in the history of that event at that golf course. And he gave it all away in the first 6 holes. And when the moment gets you, Coach, it's not when you miss a 6-footer for the win or you miss a free throw. That to me isn't choking. And trust me, I know a thing or two about choking. It's when the moment gets you, whatever the moment may be, and the whole day is a whitewash. To me, in the game of golf, that is choking. And Daniel Berger choked. And that's okay because sometimes you got to learn how to choke before you learn how to win. And even though he's a winner, sometimes you got to have that chip on your shoulder saying that will never happen again. And he proved if you can lead through 54 holes on a tough golf course like we saw at the Honda Classic, then you got a lot of confidence in your game. Did have some injuries earlier in the year, so is that something to keep an eye on with a little hip and back? And there's one little hidden piece of kryptonite in his game that nobody really talks about. Everybody says how great of a putter he is, no doubt. But if you start looking from like 5 to 8 feet, it's actually more 6 to 8 feet. Statistically, he's not that great, and he gets a little decel in his stroke. He'll take it back, looks pretty good, and then just kind of wafts through it. And so it's minimal. It's like the weakness of the Death Star. It's so small and minute, but it seems to show up at the most inopportune time. Just something to keep an eye on for Daniel Berger. I like the pick, though. I chewed him up, but I like the pick.
Let's do favorite tournament matchup.
Yes.
This is my lock.
This is where the money is, right?
This is my lock. Yes. And it is betting against Jon Rahm, which is not going to be a popular thing to do because I think people are still living in the world of Jon Rahm never finishes out of the top 5. Jon Rahm has won X amount of times in the last 8. All of that is technically true. But Ned, if you look at what he's done the last month, he was upset at him out in the desert, didn't play well there, hasn't played well at any of the big tournaments that we know Phoenix and API has turned out to be. He wasn't even in contention at either one. And Colin Morikawa on a course where iron players dominate or play better than most, he's arguably the best iron player in the world. You're going to give me plus 140 over Jon Rahm for 4 rounds? I'll take it.
Yeah, I would. Oh man, only because I think Morikawa is playing so well, and you're right. Everything just stacks up in his favor this week. For Rahm, it's the putter, right? He changed putters the last round of last week, and I've been saying it actually since before the U.S. Open that he won. The biggest change, the hardest change for him when he went to Callaway was going to be get that putter. Because remember, he had that TaylorMade, the block putter, whatever it's called, and he was fabulous with it. And that's a huge change. When he went to his new irons, shot 59 the first round at home, practicing with them. The irons, no problem. The woods, no problem. The putter was always going to be a problem, and it still is continuing to be so. And I just don't know if he's going to be able to make enough critical putts to win this week. And I'm with you on Morikawa. You start looking at his top 20 par 3 performance. He's top 10 in par 3 scoring, and he's not really given credit for being a long hitter. But Coach, he's top 3 in par 5 scoring. He's top 5 in par 5 birdie percentage. So
because he hits everything on the face,
right?
He when it goes straight, you can go a little bit farther. You know that, and everything is straight.
Such a flusher of the ball. I once asked him, what are the keys to your swing? How do you hit it so well? And he said, I hit it in the center of the face.
Yeah, great answer, Colin.
Ask a bad question, get a great answer, I guess, in that case. Well, one little area that I do like for Colin that I think could separate him this week, he's first in proximity to the hole from 225 to 250. And that's exactly where a lot of these par 5s are going to fall, especially on a wet golf course. So that falls, again, a lot of things falling right into Morikawa's hands. No one's ever gone back-to-back. In fact, there aren't even multiple-time winners at this golf course. So to think that Thomas could win this week is pretty far-fetched. So I like Morikawa over Thomas.
It's a crazy stat how hard it is to win here. all the different players that have won here, how hard it is
Right.
to win here multiple times. It's almost shocking when you say things like what you just said at this golf course. But that just proves how hard it is. And also, to your point, how many different players can win at this golf tournament.
Yeah. Again, this makes it so hard, right? Is oh my
Mhm.
gosh, you could
So
sell
hard.
me on. There's one guy you couldn't sell me on. We'll get into that in a minute. Consensus Hovland over Scheffler. I'm not sure that people are going to love this pick. Tell me why we like it.
Well, I'll tell you why we love it, because Scheffler, his 2 wins in the last 4 weeks have been emotional. So in Phoenix, he had to outlast everybody else, and that was his first PGA Tour win. And then you back that up at the elevated API, which elevates the emotion. And what did Scheffler said Sunday? What did he say Sunday post-round interview? When they
Didn't
asked
see
all
it. What did he say?
He said, you know what? I'm just exhausted. I'm just exhausted.
Yeah.
And that's what he kept saying. And that resonated with me because we only got 3 days in between the final round of winning and when what was one of the most entertaining rounds of golf I've ever seen in my life, and teeing it up Thursday in the Players' Championship. Because now he goes from being, he's a really good player to a favorite. He's a really good player, 2-time winner in the last month. Always a really good player, expectations. That changes everything. So in addition to this as a tournament pick, if you can find this as a round 1 pick, I would endorse that as well, because I think Scheffler going to get off to a really, really slow start.
Oh, that's really interesting. You know, Scheffler has famously said, and I'll paraphrase a little bit, but my game is better suited for the majors, meaning the harder, more difficult golf courses. And that is exactly what you saw at the API. That is exactly what you will see here, because this golf course and this tournament, it's the best field in golf on a golf course that is so intimidating that if you're not a little bit together, if you're a little bit exhausted, 1-2 swings of lack of focus and you're done. So I would agree with you. I would otherwise say this guy is somebody that I would take the long pick on to win this event, but I don't think it's this year. I don't think it's this week.
I agree. I agree with all that.
So I've got another lock for you besides my Rory McIlroy.
Oh, you do?
Oh yeah, first round leader.
Oh, I thought you were going to say it was Amazon. My bad. Please continue.
You know what's funny is right as I was selling that, I thought to myself, the last couple of times I've done something rash like this, it has blown up in my face. It's like the kiss of death. How do you sell Amazon and it splits 20-1, Coach? It's up $600 after hours.
No, this is going to be sitting with you for a minute. There's no doubt about it. The only thing that could make up for this is if you hit a 100-1 or longer shot this week. That'd be amazing. That'd be amazing. Tom, talk to us. Let's go.
So the guy who's going to lead after the first round is clearly Patrick Cantlay. He leads the tour in first round scoring. In 2020, when this event was canceled because of COVID, he was like 6 or 7 under in the first round. He's 4th in scrambling. He's 6th in putting. He's missed the cut here the last 2 times, and it doesn't matter because Coach, he's going to be leading after round 1.
I know what the stats say, but I'm going with my gut on this one. I almost went with Hideki because the year it was canceled, he shot a 63 the first round. And then it was canceled on day 2, if everybody remembers 2 years ago. But I just don't feel like he's in arguably a 65 or a 66 to win this bet. So who can shoot a 65 or 66? Well, Brooks Koepka, from what I've seen in 2022, is ready to erupt. Is it going to be this week? If it is, I believe he has to have a first round if he wants to win this golf tournament. At plus 4,000, I love that. Then back to Taylor Gooch. Not only does this dude finish and get backdoor top 5s and top 10s, but he's won. But he also plays really well on day 1 because that's how he gets into position. So I like either one of these guys, a sprinkle on both for the first round leader, which, by the way, finding a needle in the haystack might be easier than picking a first round leader at the Players' Championship.
Gooch, I like that pick. I think he's a guy who said he wants to be number 1 player in the world. So if you're going to do that, You're going to have to step up in big events like this thing. I got a theory on Koepka and his putting. You want to hear it?
Of course.
All right. So, when he was coming back from the knee injury, if you watch how he read putts when he squatted down behind the ball before the knee injury, before knee surgery, he would get down behind it in a typical kind of tiger crouch with his hands on his hat. And it was standard. But you start watching it after he came back from the knee surgery, and he has to get down in this kind of weird one knee up, one knee out, and he's kind of looking at it odd. And I'm telling you, Coach, and I'm going to pat myself on the back for a second. I was one of the best putters on the planet for a number of years. All right. Mm-hmm. And statistically, I'm not saying that. When you start looking at a putt like this versus like this versus like this, and I won't bore you with all the details, but it actually changes the triangulation of your eye pattern and how you're seeing depth perception.
Wow.
And so my theory on it is because he was having to change his stance basically to read the green, he started missing short putts. And you could say, well, maybe it was the stability when he was coming back from the knee was causing a little bit of body movement, and then the face was a little open or a little closed. Regardless, it started to erode confidence. And once confidence goes on short putts and 5-footers when they matter, it's really hard to get it back. And you see him now, he's going to the aim point method. And I heard a funny story today. I think Mark Rolfing told it. Something along the lines of he would go through the aim point and then he would turn to Ricky Elliott and said, "Can you read it?" So
instead of just starting there.
Right. Exactly. So I am still suspect on Brooks Koepka's putting under pressure right now. He's got to prove to me that he can do it, and he's back to where he was. He's a fabulous putter when he was winning all those majors, but he's got to prove it to me.
I agree.
Anyway,
completely agree with everything you just said.
So just interesting.
That was actually a very entertaining, fascinating, and educational story.
We'll see. I should ask him. I'd like to be able to ask him, but we'll see. All right.
Let me be there so when he punches you in the face, I can jump in and
at least catch
him
me
for you. Yeah.
Koepka gets that reputation. I'm sure he wouldn't turn down a bar brawl. He's actually a super nice guy. The times I've been with him on a practice round or whatever, just asking him questions, he's always very approachable. Now you don't approach him. You don't approach any of these guys really. Sunday at the Players Championship when you're in contention, you got to give them their space. But you catch them on a Tuesday or Wednesday, they're great.
You mean we shouldn't pull a Jim Gray and walk up to them on the 10th tee box and ask them about something that happened on the range? We shouldn't do that? That's blasphemy, Ned Michaels. Blasphemy, I say.
Where are we going? Outright tickets? Is that where we are?
We're at outright tickets.
Can we give a couple of absolutely not bets before we go to outright tickets? We don't have a graphic for these. I'm just going to take us off the reservation a little bit here. There's one name I cannot escape this name. And I have absolutely no reason to pick this guy. Maverick McNeely. He's like plus 12.
I only like him on the West Coast. West Coast. He just doesn't do anything any other time of the year. He doesn't. He went to school on the West Coast. He plays great on the West Coast. And then they come to the Florida swing. It's like he disappears. So I'm not touching him this week. No.
He shot 80-77 and missing the cut last year. But he's played the par threes well. He's playing the par fives well. Like these are things that I'm hallmarking for this particular event. And I agree.
But not these par threes, not these par fives.
I'm just telling you, cannot get away from Maverick McNeely. He may sell his Amazon. It may split 20-1, but I'm saying.
Why don't we do this? You give me a name, and we'll bet, and you can have Maverick McNeely's finish, and I'll let you give me a player. And I'll take him, and he'll beat Maverick McNeely. It's got to be a player I've heard of, not just some guy that's coming over from South Africa. But give me a name that I can fight with.
Okay, what if I gave you a guy who had won on the PGA Tour already this year? Would you take that bet? I mean, he's healthy, fantastic player.
If it's Bram who won last week in Puerto Rico, if that's who you're going to give me, I'm not taking him. We don't want
List.
Oh, Luke List. Mm-hmm. Now we're talking. Although
I knew that would pique you.
It does. Let me think about it for a second. He's had a couple of really bad tournaments since he won in San Diego. Now,
which means I went to Vanderbilt. Luke went to Vanderbilt. He's from Chattanooga. My wife is from Chattanooga. I love Luke List. All right. I have a theory on Luke List this week. But
all right, you know what? even if he misses the cut, here's the deal. One of them has to make the cut in order to pay the bet off, okay?
Oh, yeah.
We can't have two guys shooting 82. That does.
Right,
so
right.
I'll take Luke List. You've got Maverick McNeely. Whoever finishes higher, our normal bet size is always $100. That's our normal bet size, okay?
Okay, done.
So $100 showdown bet. I got List, you got McNeely, and I'm going to bury you.
So Luke List I love watching this guy play. Effortless power, hits it forever. But he cannot help himself being aggressive. That's just the nature. He's such a good ball striker, coach, that every hole is open for business when you're Luke List. And you start looking at his record in all the way back to when he was playing the Korn Ferry Tour. He cannot avoid huge numbers when there is water around. So I frankly haven't even looked at his record in this event. It may be better than I think, but
I know I haven't. I haven't.
I know. And he won. It was a great field on a big boy golf course.
Yes.
And this is not a big boy golf course as far as just being able to hit it as far as you want. You've got to do what you're saying. You've got to be conservative when that matters. You have to be aggressive. The par fives aren't just normal straight par fives either. They're difficult. 11, you got to move it around. Then, of course, 16, you got to hit it over the water. So it's a very difficult, different kind of layout this week.
Double dog legs everywhere. So, Luke, sorry, man, but beers on me next time or dinner on me next time. But I think, I don't know, Maverick McNeely just keeps popping up on my grid. And so I got McNeely over Luke List.
By the way, how many Players Championships did you play in?
0. No, I played Asia and European Tour. So I never had
I just didn't know if you ever played in the Players.
I never had the express pleasure of depositing multiple balls in the water on 17. I would have liked the opportunity. By the way, think about how many balls I put. Don't worry, I put plenty of balls in the water. It was just not at the Players Championship.
It's the Red Sea.
Exactly. It was in. Oh man, all the places I've been, I won't even go there. Think about how many balls have been hitting the water in this Florida swing. You've got the Honda, which is second only to where we are this week, the Players, and then last week at Bay Hill. Think about how many Titleist Pro Vs and whatevers or Callaway Chrome Soft have been hitting the water.
I think about the companies that have the deals with the golf courses that get to rake the water hazards in order to collect those golf balls. You're making a lot of money.
By the way, as Danny Moses pointed out, oil actually is in some of the covers on golf balls. So watch for golf ball prices to go higher. Go ahead and buy some now.
I didn't know that. I did not know that.
Interesting. Some of the.
I hate giving Danny credit for anything, but I'll give him credit for that.
Yeah, fair enough. You own some money. You already paid him, didn't you?
Of course I paid him. Yeah.
Dan.
Day of. Yeah.
Dan hadn't paid him. Dan owes him, as he said, 15 dimes. If you don't know what we're talking about, you have to watch Breaking Even.
I won 4 bets on my other show that I do every day. Sometimes you got to teach lessons. Sometimes there's levels to this game. And I had to beat down a couple of the guys on my show 4 times in the last week. It's just what happens. It's what happens.
All right, outright tickets. Here we go. Drum roll, please. Who wins the Players Championship?
And let me start by saying, Ned, I don't recommend any of these as far as actually putting money on them, except for anything north of plus 3,000. I'm telling you, public service announcement. Picking a winner and putting a lot of money on a winner in golf is a recipe for disaster. It is just as hard as picking a first-round leader. And if you pick one a year, that's doing pretty good. So if you pick 1 out of 45, is that a percentage that you would use, Ned, to put a lot of money on anything, whether it's in finance or in betting? 1 out of 45 times. I would say no. No. But this is the week that with the longer odds, you could get lucky and play a really good player and make some money. So Morikawa is around that plus 1,600 to 2,000, depending on what book you use. Berger's plus 3,000. And then this is the one that I truly love. Jordan Spieth in that sweet spot, 55 to 1. Because the reason it's so high, the last couple of months he hasn't played great, but he's been around. And I think this week could be one of those special weeks. So of these 3, I think Morikawa will get the job done.
But at plus 1,600, you can't bet that because you're only winning $1,600 on a $100 bet against the best field in golf. It's just not a good play.
Well, it turns out, fortunately for you, I'm really good at picking winners. So, yeah,
okay.
I picked Tiger to win the Masters. I did. I still have the ticket.
All 5 times?
Well, just the last time he won.
Okay.
I picked Hideki to win the Masters. So it turns out I'm really good at this. And Morikawa was going to win. 45-1 odds, huh? And I'm really. I
hope so because I used them on my one and done for this week as well.
Yeah, I think Morikawa, just everything stacks up for him. Again, I've already mentioned the par 3s. I've already mentioned the par 5s. His proximity to the hole inside of 125 yards, he's the best. 200, 225, 250. We've already talked about it. I just think this becomes a ball strikers week more than anything, even though the greens are going to be big and soft and so are the fairways. It's going to put a premium on proximity to the hole because it's going to be tough to make putts. It always is here. And I just think you can hit it closer to the hole, you're going to win. And nobody does that better than Colin Morikawa.
No doubt.
McIlroy, already talked about him. And Billy Horschel, I picked him every week to win. So I might as well keep the streak alive. he's playing so well. I remember I told you like 2 months ago, mark my words, he's going to be a top 10 player in the world by the end of the season. And he's going to get there faster than even I thought.
So here's No, not at all. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm starting it this week because I think I said it here on Breaking Even. It could have been on the early edge. So I'm going to say it again because our audience grows every single week. If you would have put $100, Ned, on Colin Morikawa since the day he stepped onto the PGA Tour, you would be up over $11,000 if you did that. So I'm going to start it this week. And as long as I'm still winning other bets, I'm going to keep putting $100 on Colin Morikawa every time he steps onto the course. And at the end of the year, if he has 2 or 3 wins, I've made money. So I'm going to see if that works out for me.
That's a crazy, crazy stat. And
it is.
That's like just keep betting on Amazon. Keep betting on Amazon. Don't sell your Amazon, you moron. Oh man.
At least it didn't get chopped up 20-1. Oh,
right.
My bad.
That would
my
be
bad.
Good. That's cool.
My bad. Yeah.
You know what we probably should do? We should probably sign off. I know we've got a couple more things we were planning on talking about, but Tiger's getting ready to be nominated, or not nominated. He's getting ready to be, what do you call it when you're brought into the Hall of Fame? Tiger is enshrined. He's going to be enshrined into the Hall of Fame, and it's going to be live.
Yeah, it's going to be live. Yeah, it really
before
is.
We do, they asked every player in the interview in the press room this week what Tiger Woods has meant to them, and I would be curious to know, what does Tiger Woods mean to you?
That's a great question. He's my favorite athlete of all time. It's Tiger, it's MJ, and then it's LeBron. And the reason they're my 3 and the reason Tiger's at the top is because sports means so much to me, Ned. Like whether we're doing this, a lot of people don't understand. I don't care what show I'm doing. I love it all. And so when you asked me to come on here, I said yes, because I feel like Tiger Woods has made it possible for me to be able to work in the world of golf. When I was at ESPN, all I wanted to do was leave so I could be in golf. And now to be able to call the Players Championship, to be a part of the PGA Tour in the roles that you and I have, it means the world to me. But the biggest reason that Tiger is my favorite athlete, he's given me more days of enjoyment in my life than any other athlete that exists. There's so many Sundays you could sit there and watch magic. So many Sundays you could sit there and watch a virtuoso on the golf course just break it down in so many ways. We all know, anybody that plays the game knows how hard this game is, and he made it look so easy at times. So for that's what he means to me. To the game of golf, he's grown it to where we still need more diversity, clearly. But at least we've started the journey a little bit, and maybe I can help a little bit with that as well. But also, he's allowed all these young players to, when they're ready in their 20s, they're ready in their 20s. It's not like years and years ago, or maybe 27, 28 was when you started in your prime. Now you got guys at 21, 22, and I think that's the Tiger Woods effect, because they were kids when he was killing it from 2000 to 2010. So there's so many different things that he's been responsible for, and I just love him to death.
amen to all of that. Really interesting that you mentioned that it used to be when you came out on tour as a rookie or any tour, by the way, the veterans kind of batted you around, right? I mean, you weren't carrying their bags like you would in the NFL, but they would stonewall you. They'd be moving while you were hitting. I mean, they were all kinds of things. There wasn't that there was no respect, but you had to prove yourself, right? They were not going to help you. You didn't walk up to Hal Sutton. I don't know. I'm just making that up just because I was always intimidated by Hal Sutton. He's a super nice guy. Probably a bad example. And just say, hey, can I join you today? As a rookie on tour, he'd look at you with, hey man, what? No. Think about going to Ray Floyd and saying, Mr. Floyd, can I join you in the practice round today? He probably would have said yes. I mean, but these guys are just intimidated. And it used to be that they use that to their advantage. And now it's almost kind of flipped on its head because the young guys are coming out and they've got all the hype and they're hitting it forever. And it's almost, you still have to prove yourself, no doubt. But it's almost like the veterans have to prove that, hey, we were here first. This is my territory. And frankly, look at the guys who can take over number one in the world right now. They're
all under 30. They're all under 30.
They were in college 2 years ago. Morikawa and Hovland. I mean, it's crazy.
It really is. And it's only gonna get worse for the players in their 40s. And we work with some guys that are amazing that are like 45 or 46, and they're just waiting for the Champions Tour because they can't keep their card on the regular tour because these young guys are just too good and there's only so many spots. I've said this for the last several months. If you're one of these veteran players that has been coasting, just finishing 100th, 110th on the FedEx Cup standings the last few years, you better start working on your game because there's a lot of players that are coming up. Look at those Korn Ferry players. Cameron Young stepping right into the tour and on top of the leaderboard every single week.
Yeah,
you've got to be great and you've got to bring it, or that year on tour may be your only one.
I just think of Tiger Woods and I think of he made golf cool. He made it exciting. And then, of course, everything that followed with him, the television contracts. But there's so many things about the first tee that has come into existence and all these, the $2 billion now donated in charity from the PGA Tour. Tiger made a lot of that possible. And when you're opening doors like that and you do it in an inspiring way for us golf fans, I'm excited to see what he has to say. I hope he tells a couple of stories we haven't heard tonight at his induction into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
so
I'm looking forward to
Coach,
watching it too.
Let's sign off. You can follow us ESPN Plus PGA Tour Live on the Players Championship this week. Coach, you are hosting the main feed, correct?
I am. I'll be doing the main feed with major champion Karen Stupples.
Oh, I love working with Stupples. She's awesome.
I do too.
She knows her stuff. You don't win a major without knowing what you're doing. I'm going to be over on the marquee group with a lot of the guys we just talked about. So come join us, watch some golf. Coach, for now, we're out.
My man.